Welcome to AI Unraveled, your daily forensic briefing at the intersection of business and artificial intelligence. It is Friday, April 10th, 2026. I'm your co-host, Anna. Before we begin our autopsy of the market, a quick reminder, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to AI Unraveled directly on Apple Podcasts so you can enjoy this strategic briefing and all our daily episodes completely ads-free. Today's episode is brought to you by Mind. When companies like OpenAI are actively lobbying for legal immunity against catastrophic AI failures causing over $1 billion in damage, standard enterprise risk management is dead. Mind delivers the technical-grade, human-verified audio forensics the C-suite relies on to navigate this unprecedented legal and regulatory friction. Visit jamgameen.com. Today we are unpacking the liability shield and the integration race. We are going to look closely at OpenAI's push for legal immunity against mass casualty events. We will deconstruct how ChatGPT and Perplexity are evolving from search engines into full-stack enterprise operating systems, and we'll analyze the great compute bottleneck debate. Let's unravel the bottom line.
So, imagine your company's brand new AI assistant decides it needs a little extra help on a project.
Right.
And it autonomously hires a contractor, drafts up a contract, executes a completely flawed payment, and basically accidentally bankrupts one of your key vendors.
Ouch. Yeah.
Right. So who do you sue? I mean, the vendor wants their money, your shareholders are furious, and you obviously look to the tech company that sold you the AI.
But the terrifying answer there is you can't sue anybody.
Exactly. Because the companies building your core enterprise software are currently lobbying for total legal immunity if their systems cause catastrophic damage.
It's basically the ultimate paradox of the enterprise software market right now. I mean, they want total control over your business workflows, but absolutely zero liability for the outcomes.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. Today is April 10th, 2026. And we are going to act as your lead systems architects and forensic financial strategists.
Yes, we are.
Our mission today is a technical and strategic autopsy of the latest AI developments. And we're focusing squarely on a theme we are calling risk consolidation.
Right, because for anyone listening, whether you're, sitting in the C-suite or you're the systems architect drawing up your infrastructure roadmap, the game has moved so far past just playing with generative chatbots.
Totally.
The landscape today is really about surviving aggressive regulatory capture, protecting your P&L, and navigating an environment where the fundamental concept of enterprise liability is just being rewritten from scratch.
Let's start right there, actually, with that liability shield. Because the contradiction here is just staggering. Tech giants are simultaneously trying to become what we call the agentic OS.
The underlying operating system that runs every facet of a business.
Exactly. But while doing that, they're aggressively trying to shed the legal responsibility that traditionally comes with providing critical infrastructure. Look at the Illinois Artificial Intelligence Safety Act.
Yeah, the mechanics of this bill are just, it's a masterclass in regulatory capture. So OpenAI is actively backing this legislation in Illinois. And essentially, it protects AI developers from lawsuits over what it calls catastrophic harm.
Which is a pretty intense phrase for software.
Right. And they have a very specific, very high bar for catastrophic. They define it as an event causing 100 or more human deaths, $1 billion in property damage, or the AI autonomously assisting in weapons development.
Okay, let's just pause and appreciate that we are casually discussing software causing $1 billion in property damage.
I know.
But here's the massive loophole. The developer is completely immune from lawsuits if that happens, as long as they publish a quote-unquote safety report and can prove they didn't act recklessly.
And we really have to look at the scale this is designed for, because the legislation explicitly applies to what are called frontier models.
Right.
These are models trained using over $100 million in compute power.
Just massive.
Yeah, just to visualize that, we are talking about tens of thousands of high-end GPUs running at maximum capacity for months in massive data centers. So this liability shield isn't designed to protect some scrappy startup building a niche coding app.
No.
It's tailored protection for the hyperscalers,
Mm-hmm.
and they are spending an absolute fortune to get it.
Yeah, if you look at the federal lobbying data, OpenAI, Meta, Alphabet, and Microsoft poured $50 million into lobbying in just the first 9 months of 2025 alone.
$50 million.
Right, because there's no federal law defining who holds the bag in an AI disaster. They're just well, writing the rules themselves at the state level.
Let me put this in visceral terms for you, the listener, because the P&L implications here are just wild.
Go for it.
Imagine you are the VP of logistics and you buy a fleet of autonomous delivery trucks. The manufacturer hands you the keys, but they make you sign a waiver that says, if our truck experiences a software glitch, hops a curb, and levels a city block, causing $1 billion in damage. That is entirely on your balance sheet, not ours. Because, hey, we published a 30-page safety PDF on our website.
That's insane.
In what other industry would an enterprise architect ever accept those terms?
I mean, you wouldn't. It fundamentally breaks the procurement process. Usually, accountability is baked into service-level agreements, but these creators are shifting the entirety of the enterprise risk directly onto you, the user.
Exactly.
And when the companies building your enterprise software are actively lobbying for legal immunity against catastrophic failures, your internal risk management must be flawless. Jamgamine provides the human-verified, technical-grade audio forensics required to audit these systems before deployment. Visit djamgamine.com.
Because you really have to ask yourself, how do you manage corporate governance when your core software stack is legally untouchable?
We can't.
Right. If the system has no skin in the game, your P&L absorbs 100% of the variance.
And the reason that variance is skyrocketing right now is because of what this software is actually doing. It was one thing to demand legal immunity when AI was just a research tool, right?
Sure.
If a chatbot hallucinates a historical fact about the Roman Empire, nobody's balance sheet gets wiped out. But the agentic OS fundamentally changes the mechanics. I mean, the chatbot era is dead. We are now looking at full vertical integration.
Yeah, the transition from a passive tool to an active agent is, it's the defining architectural shift of 2026.
Definitely.
A passive tool is like a calculator. It waits for you to push the buttons. An active agent is basically an employee with a company credit card. It takes a high-level goal, breaks it down into steps, and executes them autonomously across different platforms.
Let's break down exactly how that works with two massive integrations we saw in the latest sources.
Okay.
First up is ChatGPT and Upwork. You're no longer just asking ChatGPT to write a template for a job description. A business user can sit in the chat interface, brainstorm a project, and then hand it over to a newly integrated AI agent named Uma.
Right, the new agent.
Yeah, and Uma doesn't just give you advice. It natively reaches into Upwork's network of 18 million professionals. It finds candidates, negotiates the terms, executes the compliance paperwork, and actually issues the payments.
Mechanically, what's happening under the hood there is a massive leap. The language model isn't just, predicting the next word to generate text anymore. It is generating functional API calls.
Right.
It's reading the state of the Upwork interface, deciding which digital buttons to push, and passing secure tokens to authorize actual money transfers. The hyperscalers are trying to eliminate context switching entirely.
Yeah, if you never have to open a new tab to go to Upwork, OpenAI just owns your entire workflow from ideation to transaction.
Which is exactly why we are seeing such a brutal shift in the labor market right now. If Uma is handling compliance and issuing payments natively, you really don't need a junior HR coordinator or a procurement associate to manage that contractor.
And the executives absolutely know this. KPMG just put out a report noting that C-suites are engaging in what they call AI washing, which is a pretty dark concept.
It's a critical term for systems architects to understand, though. AI washing, in this context, basically means executives are using the implementation of AI infrastructure as a convenient shield to justify massive headcount reductions to their shareholders.
Right. They're cutting the labor force to fend the P&L hit from buying the custom silicon and those massive enterprise AI licenses. Let's be honest, your enterprise architecture shouldn't be based on a viral LinkedIn post. Stop collecting shiny beta apps and start deploying actual infrastructure. Etienne has audited the market for the AI Unraveled community. Head over to djambymind.com/toolkit for the AI Executive Toolkit. This is a private, forensic, vetted stack featuring tools like Chatbase and 11 Labs enterprise-grade weapons designed to drive actual governed ROI.
And it's not just HR and procurement that's getting automated out. Look at the financial stack.
Oh, man. Yeah. The Perplexity and Plaid integration. So Plaid is the data network that connects to over 12,000 financial institutions. And Perplexity's new, quote-unquote, computer agent can now natively pull your checking, credit, loan, and brokerage data.
All of it.
All of it. It digests everything and autonomously executes budget balancing and debt payoff strategies. And, This comes right after they launched a U.S. tax integration that pulls your financial data and literally fills out your IRS forms for you.
Which, when you look at the underlying logic here, this is basically an extinction event for single-function software as a service.
Okay, wait, let me stop you there because that is a massive claim.
Yeah.
Are you saying that traditional SaaS platforms, companies that have dominated enterprise architecture for a decade, like Workday for HR or TurboTax for accounting,
Right.
are just going to become obsolete overnight?
I mean, they get hollowed out into invisible databases. Think about it from the user experience perspective. If Perplexity can ingest your Plaid data and perfectly format your IRS filings, why would you pay a separate subscription fee to TurboTax, learn their clunky interface, and manually import your documents?
You wouldn't.
Right. The tech giants are creating single, unified hubs.
Yeah.
There's a heavily rumored OpenAI super app in the works right now that merges the web browser, the chatbot, and their Codex programming environment into one consolidated desktop client.
And the numbers prove the strategy is working.
Sure.
Perplexity's agentic pivot just pushed their annual recurring revenue past $450 million in a single month.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a 50% jump.
Yeah.
They aren't just trying to build a better Google search anymore. They're coming from Mint, Workday, Salesforce, and literally every single app they integrate with.
And this is why OpenAI just launched that $100 per month ChatGPT Pro plan. It's specifically targeted at heavy agentic coding, offering 5 times more compute capacity than the standard Plus tier.
Which brings up Andrej Karpathy's recent observation. He said everyday consumers feel like AI progress has totally stalled out. But developers using these frontier agentic models are experiencing what he calls AI psychosis, because the day-to-day improvements are just so staggering. So why the disconnect?
The mechanism really comes down to how reinforcement learning actually works. To make an AI smarter, it needs feedback, right? A reward function.
Okay.
If an AI writes a creative poem, evaluating it is subjective. Is it good? Who knows? But coding and B2B workflows offer perfect, explicit reward functions. The AI writes a Python script, the compiler runs it. It either works perfectly or it throws an error.
It's binary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if it throws an error, the system automatically feeds that failure back into the model, adjusts the weights, and tries again.
So it's a closed-loop system of perfect verification. The IRS form is either mathematically correct according to the tax code or it's not.
Precisely. Because B2B workflows are easily verifiable, they are perfect for reinforcement learning. That is why the agentic capabilities in enterprise environments are advancing exponentially faster than creative writing.
Interesting.
But here's the catch. The only way to run an agentic OS that monopolizes global enterprise workflows, from hiring on Upwork to banking on Plaid to writing code, is by securing an incomprehensible amount of compute infrastructure.
The hardware.
Yes. And currently, the profit margins of that infrastructure are bleeding out because of what the industry calls the NVIDIA tax.
Let's define the NVIDIA tax, because it's not just about the hardware being expensive.
You know, the NVIDIA tax is about ecosystem lock-in. NVIDIA doesn't just sell the physical GPU. They own CUDA, the software layer that developers use to talk to the chip.
Right.
For a decade, the entire AI industry wrote their code in CUDA. So even if a competitor builds a faster, cheaper chip, you can't just swap it out because your entire software stack is built for NVIDIA's language. Switching costs are astronomical.
Which is why this next pivot is so wild. Anthropic, the lab that builds the Claude models, is reportedly exploring building its own custom AI chips. Reuters notes it's early days, mostly driven by severe hardware shortages. But wait, let me push back here.
Sure.
Anthropic is a software research lab. Manufacturing silicon is arguably the most complex physical process on the planet. Isn't trying to spin up custom chip design a massive, incredibly expensive distraction from their core mission of building better models?
It looks like a distraction until you look at the P&L. Escaping NVIDIA's monopoly is no longer just an optimization tactic. It is a mandatory survival strategy. To understand why Anthropic is panicking, you just have to look at what the cloud providers are doing. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy just dropped his annual shareholder letter, and he finally showed the receipts on their $200 billion AI strategy.
And the numbers are staggering.
Yep.
AWS's AI arm crossed $15 billion in annualized revenue. But the real bombshell is their supply side. Amazon's custom silicon, their Trainium, Graviton, and Nitro chips just crossed $20 billion in yearly revenue.
That $20 billion figure completely reframes the entire AI race. If you only pay attention to the software models, you might assume Amazon is lagging behind OpenAI, But on the infrastructure side, they are building an absolute empire.
Yeah.
The demand is outstripping supply at a pace that breaks traditional forecasting.
Yeah, Jassy actually mentioned in his letter that two unnamed AWS customers literally asked to buy Amazon's entire 2026 supply of Graviton chips. Just two companies wanting to buy the entire global production run.
That's wild.
Amazon actually had to say no just to ensure their other clients wouldn't get starved of compute.
And over at Meta, they are spending $21 billion on CoreWeave just to secure data center capacity. So, back to your question about Anthropic. If you are a software lab relying on third-party hardware when your competitors are literally spending tens of billions to lock up the global supply chain, it's a critical vulnerability.
You're dead in the water.
Exactly. You cannot control the future of the agentic OS if you do not control the silicon it runs on.
So we have a situation where everyone is trying to build an agentic OS to run the world's workflows, and everyone is spinning up custom silicon to avoid the NVIDIA bottleneck. Where does physics finally stop us? I mean, are we just going to pave the earth in data centers?
This is the billion-dollar infrastructure debate among systems architects right now. What is the actual physical limit to AI scaling? Is it the sheer amount of energy required, or is it the manufacturing bottleneck of logic and memory chips?
Which brings up the massive debate between Dylan Patel and Dwarkesh Patel that just blew up.
Yeah.
Dylan Patel argues that energy is absolutely not the bottleneck.
Right.
His take is incredibly aggressive. He claims the U.S. can basically just brute force the energy grid into submission. He suggested bolting decommissioned jet engines to the ground, using ship engines, deploying diesel generators from auto manufacturers, and, building out massive fuel cell arrays.
Wow.
Yeah, he claims we can generate tens of gigawatts by the end of the decade just by cobbling together industrial engines.
It's the ultimate Silicon Valley mindset applied to the physical world, right? The idea that if you just throw enough capital at a problem, physics will bend.
Exactly.
But he received an immediate, pretty harsh reality check from people who actually manage the physical grid. Jigar Shah, the former director of the U.S. Energy Department, bluntly stated that Patel fundamentally misunderstands how power distribution works.
Right, because you can't just plug a cargo ship engine into a local substation and call it a day.
Precisely. Let's use a mechanical metaphor. Imagine trying to drink from a fire hose, but you have to pull all that water through a plastic coffee stirrer.
Good luck with that.
Right. The water is the energy generation. The coffee stirrer is the transmission lines and substations. A modern AI data center can easily draw a gigawatt of power. That is the equivalent of powering a mid-sized city.
It's unbelievable.
Even if you can physically generate a gigawatt of power by burning diesel in a parking lot next door, creating a localized microgrid, you still run into massive constraints with cooling systems, local zoning laws, and the environmental permits required to burn that much fuel continuously.
Not to mention, if you try to pull that power from the baseload grid, the local transformers will literally melt. The bottleneck isn't just making the electricity, it's the highly complex centralized transmission infrastructure.
Which is exactly why betting your enterprise roadmap on the assumption of infinite, perfectly scaled compute is a massive P&L risk. The physical world has friction. We can spin up 1 million AI agents and software almost instantly, but we cannot instantly build the high-voltage transmission lines required to power the custom silicon they run on.
And the workforce is feeling that friction too. Like we mentioned earlier with that KPMG report, 60% of enterprises openly intend to lay off employees who cannot or will not integrate AI into their workflows. 60%.
It's a massive shift.
And Gen Z is feeling it in real time. The latest Gallup poll shows that excitement around AI among 14 to 29-year-olds plummeted 14 percentage points this year alone. 42% are reporting severe anxiety about it. They don't want it, but over half of them acknowledge that knowing how to leverage an agentic OS is a non-negotiable survival skill.
They recognize that the floor for entry-level knowledge work has been raised dramatically.
So to synthesize everything we've unpacked in today's deep dive, the tech giants are rapidly consolidating their grip on your enterprise. They are transitioning from offering passive chatbots to deploying fully integrated agentic operating systems that autonomously run your hiring on Upwork, your banking on Plaid, and your coding.
Yep.
They're backing this massive software play by pouring billions into custom silicon to escape the NVIDIA lock-in. And while they are embedding themselves into the very circulatory system of your business, they are actively lobbying state legislatures to ensure that if their infrastructure fails, they face zero liability. You are the one left holding the bag.
So consider this as you review your own system's architecture and risk management this week. If your core enterprise software achieves total legal immunity through regulatory capture, does your company's cyber insurance policy even cover the damage when an autonomous agent hallucinates a disastrous financial trade?
That's the real question.
You might be adopting an agentic OS to optimize your headcount and cut costs, but you are simultaneously adopting 100% of its uninsurable risk.
Subscribe to AI Unraveled on Apple Podcasts to always listen completely, ads-free.
That concludes our forensic business rundown for April 10th. The strategic signal for today is risk transfer. The Frontier Labs are playing a brilliant, ruthless game. On one hand, they are integrating their agents directly into your bank accounts through Plaid and into your HR departments through Upwork, demanding total access to your corporate workflow. But on the other hand, they are spending $50 million in Washington and backing state bills to ensure that if their agents cause a billion-dollar catastrophe, they cannot be sued. They want total integration and zero liability. As an enterprise leader, you cannot blindly adopt this technology. You must govern it. If you want to survive this shift, your inbox full of top 50 AI tools PDFs isn't going to save you. You need enterprise-grade solutions. Head over to jamgamind.com/toolkit for our AI Executive Toolkit. We've audited the entire market to bring you a forensic vetted list of platforms that actually work, complete with exclusive listener perks, so you can deploy real governed infrastructure today. This episode was made possible by JamgaMind. Hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts to enjoy this briefing completely ads-free. I'm Anna. Stay sharp and keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.